What happens when a live daytime talk show turns into a moment so unfiltered, so unexpectedly raw, that even Whoopi Goldberg is left staring into the cameras, speechless? Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button for Stage View, and don't forget to like and comment, because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking celebrity-on-celebrity moments to ever unfold on live TV. The lights above the studio gleam with a polished warmth, the kind that makes everything look friendly and controlled. But the energy simmering beneath the surface isn't warm at all. It's electric, tense, almost cinematic. The audience sits in neat rows, buzzing, whispering to one another about the news that's been circulating all week. Gal Gadot, the serene, composed, beloved star, is coming onto The View after a controversial headline that nobody can quite agree on. The rumors are scattered. Some claim she walked off a film set after a dispute. Others say she made a political statement that polarized half of Hollywood. A few insist it's something much more personal. No matter the truth, the air feels charged, like everyone knows something unpredictable is about to happen. Inside the dressing room, Gal Gadot stands alone for a moment. She's already been through the press circuit today, already smiled through small talk and scripted interviews. But The View is different. It's unpredictable. It's personal. And as she looks at herself in the mirror, her chest rises slowly, then falls, the reflection of a woman who is used to grace. But tonight might not be about grace at all. She adjusts her blazer. A small, almost invisible tremble passes through her fingertips. She clenches her hands to steady them, not from fear, but from the storm building inside her. A soft knock on the door. "Gal? They're ready for you." She turns, nods once, and steps into the hallway. The moment she starts walking, a strange stillness washes over her. The quiet before a major scene in a film, the kind that tells the audience, pay attention. The backstage curtain parts, and instantly she's greeted by the roar of applause. The cheers expand like a wave, spilling over the stage. She smiles politely as she walks out, but beneath that smile sits an unreadable intensity. Whoopi Goldberg watches her approach with her usual calm expression, reserved, neutral, unreadable. Joy Behar adjusts her glasses, squinting with curiosity. Sunny Hostin offers a warm, diplomatic smile. Sarah Haynes waves at the audience, trying to keep the energy light. Gal takes her seat. She crosses her legs, smooths her blazer again, and tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. To the live audience, she seems perfectly composed. But to anyone sitting within 10 feet, there's something simmering below the surface. Whoopi leans forward just slightly. "Well," she says, her voice calm but edged with unspoken anticipation. "It's been a week for you, Gal." The audience laughs lightly, but not too loudly. They're waiting. Gal's eyes flicker for half a second. The kind of micro-expression you see on someone who's about to choose between playing it safe or telling the truth. "It has," she says softly. "More than a week, actually." There's a faint tremor in her tone. Not weakness, emotion. And it lands in the room like a pin dropped at a funeral. Sunny leans in. "A lot has been said online, and I want to give you the opportunity to clarify what really happened." Gal exhales. For the first time, the smile drops. "I'm tired," she admits. The audience goes still. Even the cameras seem to quiet themselves, as if leaning forward to catch her words. "I'm tired of people telling my story before I get to tell it." Joy's eyebrows lift. This is not the polished Hollywood soundbite they were expecting. Whoopi folds her hands together, eyes locked on Gal. "So tell it." Gal lets out a breath, long, controlled, heavy. "The headlines got it wrong," she begins. "All week I've been portrayed as someone difficult, someone unprofessional. That's not who I am. And that's not what happened." Sarah nods sympathetically. "So what did happen?" Gal looks from one host to the next, then straight into the camera. "I walked away from a situation where I was being disrespected." Gasps ripple through the audience. Joy immediately jumps in. "Was this on your film set?" Gal doesn't respond at first. She just sits there, eyes steady, jaw tight. Then she says, "Yes." Whoopi shifts in her seat. "Was it a director? A producer? Someone in the cast?" Gal hesitates, and that hesitation is louder than any answer. The audience murmurs. A tension-laced silence blooms across the stage. Finally, she says it. "A director." The room erupts, whispers, shocked breaths, distant "oh my god" exclamations. The hosts exchange glances, their professional instincts kicking in, sensing a story much deeper and much more volatile than they expected. Sunny leans forward, journalist mode activated. "Gal, did he say something to you?" Did he cross a line? Gal's eyes harden, not cold, but fierce with truth she's held in too long. He told me, she says quietly, that I should just smile more and do what I'm told. A deep, uncomfortable hush sweeps across the set. Even the audience, usually eager to react, falls silent. It's not a dramatic silence. It's the kind that comes from hearing something undeniably real. Whoopi's lips part, but no words come out. Gal continues, her voice trembling now but steady in conviction. I've spent years in this industry being polite, being gracious, being easy to work with. But there comes a point where silence becomes acceptance. And I'm done being silent. A single clap rises somewhere in the back row, sharp, loud. Then another. And then the entire audience erupts into applause, not the gleeful kind, but the supportive, emotional kind. Gal doesn't smile. She just bows her head slightly, letting the moment wash over her. Sunny lifts her hand gently. Gal, what you're saying is important. But it's also risky. Gal nods. I know. But I'm not going to let fear shape my story. Joy leans forward, voice softer than usual. So when you walked off, that's why? Gal closes her eyes, remembers something. A moment, a face, a sentence she can't forget. When someone looks at you like you're replaceable, you realize you need to choose yourself. Another wave of applause surges through the audience. And then, unexpectedly, Whoopi speaks. What exactly did he say to you? Gal turns to her. There's a pause, a weighted silence that hangs like fog. He told me, she says, her voice cracking slightly. You're lucky to be here. Don't forget that. The words drop like stones. Heavy. Ugly. True. Whoopi leans back, stunned. Her eyes widen just a fraction. But for Whoopi, that's equivalent to a scream. The audience gasps. Some cover their mouths. Others shake their heads in disbelief. And then Gal adds something even more devastating. He said it in front of the entire crew. That does it. The room explodes, not loudly, but viscerally. Gasps. Murmurs. A few people shout, what? Others simply stare. Whoopi runs a hand over her forehead, trying to steady herself. Damn, she mutters under her breath. It's not for the cameras. It's not for the audience. It's a genuine, unfiltered reaction. Gal looks down at her hands. For a moment, she seems far away, as if trying to pull herself back from the memory. Then softly she adds, and when I confronted him, he laughed. Joy shakes her head. Unbelievable. He laughed, Gal repeats. Like it was nothing. Like my dignity was nothing. The audience is dead silent. Sarah swallows hard. What did you do? Gal lifts her head, eyes steady with the kind of strength that isn't loud, the kind that's born in fire. I walked away. The audience erupts into applause again, louder, more emotional, almost cathartic. But this time, Gal doesn't absorb it. She doesn't smile. She just watches the floor, expression heavy, like the applause isn't for something brave, but for something painful. Whoopi finally finds her voice. Gal, I'm sorry. That should never happen to anyone. Gal nods softly. Thank you. A strange, tense silence settles over the set. The kind where everyone knows something huge has just been revealed. But it's only the beginning. Whoopi glances toward the camera, then back at Gal. We need to talk more about this, everything you're saying right now. It changes the whole story. Gal looks at her with a gaze that's half challenge, half confession. Then let's talk. And just like that, the atmosphere shifts again, deeper, darker, more explosive. The hosts lean in. The audience holds its breath. And Gal Gadot, for the first time, seems ready to say the things she's never said out loud. She straightens her posture. Her eyes sharpen. The storm inside her settles into a razor focus. Because the real story, the one nobody has heard, is about to come out. For a moment, no one speaks. The studio lights hum softly above them, spilling their warm glow across Gal's calm but resolute face. The audience sits suspended in a kind of collective breath, as though they know that whatever comes next is going to change the entire trajectory of the conversation. Maybe even more than that. Whoopi breaks the silence first. Her voice is low, almost cautious. You said, that was only the beginning. What did you mean by that? Gal looks down for a moment, fingers tracing the edge of her seat. She isn't rushing. She isn't performing. She's remembering, deeply, deliberately. When she finally lifts her eyes, they're steady, but there's a flicker behind them, something wounded, something fierce. I mean, she begins quietly, that it wasn't just one comment, or one moment. It wasn't even one person. Joy shifts uncomfortably. Sunny leans in. The audience collectively murmurs, sensing the scale of what's unfolding. Gal continues, her voice soft but deadly precise. It was a pattern, a culture, the kind of treatment that makes you question your own worth, even when you know better. Whoopi studies her for a long moment. Gal, are you saying this wasn't an isolated incident? That multiple people. Yes, Gal says, cutting in gently but firmly. It was more than one, and it had been happening for weeks before I finally said something. A few people in the front row gasp. One woman presses a hand to her chest. Someone else whispers, "Oh my God." Sarah's voice is thin with disbelief. But, you didn't tell anyone? Not even your team. Gal lets out a slow exhale. I did. But every time I tried, I was told the same thing. Don't make trouble. This is how it is. It's just part of the process. She swallows hard. I was told to pick my battles. Joy frowns. And what? This wasn't a battle worth picking. Gal's eyes flash with something sharp, not anger, but the realization of how deeply those words had cut her. Apparently not. Not to them. A heavy silence settles again. Whoopi folds her hands, her voice quiet but firm. Gal, this is bigger than you. What you're saying could blow open an entire system. Gal nods. I know. And that's why I'm finally talking about it. Sunny leans forward, voice soft. What made you speak up now? Gal looks at her, really looks at her, before answering. Because I'm tired of reading articles about myself based on lies. I'm tired of the headlines being louder than the truth. And I'm tired of being polite about something that was never polite to me. She hesitates, then says something that makes the room shift. There was one moment, one specific moment on set, when I realized it was all going too far. Whoopi straightens slightly. What happened? Gal inhales, long and slow, as though pushing herself through a door she's been afraid to open. It was a late shoot, she begins. Everyone was exhausted. People were frustrated. And the director, the same one who told me I should just smile more, he made a comment that I still hear in my head. The audience goes so still that even the faint rustle of someone adjusting their jacket sounds loud. Gal continues, her voice trembling just slightly. I had asked for a moment to rework a line. I wasn't trying to cause trouble. It just didn't feel right, and I wanted to talk it through. But instead of discussing it, he pulled me aside, in front of the crew, and said. Her throat tightens. She presses her lips together, fighting for control. Whoopi waits. Sunny watches gently. Joy looks like she already knows what's coming, but doesn't want to hear it. Finally, Gal forces the words out. He said, "People like you don't get to challenge me." The words hang in the air like smoke. The audience gasps, a raw, collective sound that fills the entire studio. Even the camera operators glance at one another, visibly shaken. Joy whispers, barely audible, "Oh my God." Sunny shakes her head. "People like you?" she repeats softly. What did he mean by that? Gal's eyes darken. I asked him the same thing. And Sarah pushes. Gal lets out a bitter, painful laugh, the kind that doesn't come from humor, but from disbelief. He said, "You're not here because you're talented. You're here because you're marketable." A stunned silence drops like a hammer. Whoopi's entire posture shifts. She sits back, jaw tightening, eyes narrowed. She looks like she's resisting an instinct to stand up and walk off the stage out of sheer frustration. Wow, she finally breathes. Just wow. Gal looks down again, voice fragile but steady. That's when it clicked. That was when I realized he didn't respect me. He didn't see me as an artist or a professional. He saw me as a product. The quiet that follows is suffocating. Sarah's voice wavers. Gal, why didn't anyone say anything? Why didn't anyone step in? Gal meets her gaze, and there's a sadness there that makes the room feel smaller. Because everyone was afraid of him. He had power. Connections. A murmur ripples through the audience. The kind of murmur that comes from recognizing a painful truth. Joy exhales hard. So what finally happened? What made you walk away? Gal shifts slightly in her seat, remembering the moment in sharp, painful detail. It was the next day. We were on set again. Morning shoot. He was giving notes, sharp, dismissive, the way he always did, and I was trying to keep calm. But then he snapped at one of the younger actresses. Humiliated her. Completely unnecessary. And she looked terrified. Gal pauses, emotion creeping into her voice. That's when I realized if I didn't say something, if I didn't stand up, not just for myself, but for everyone, nothing would change. The audience holds its breath. So I took a step forward, Gal continues quietly, and I told him he needed to stop. that he couldn't talk to people like that the way he treated women on set was not just unprofessional, it was abusive. The room is silent. And he laughed, Gal adds. Again, the audience reacts immediately, gasps, groans, head shakes. Sunny presses a hand reflexively to her chest. Gal swallows. He said, and I'm quoting, "If you can't handle the way I run my set, you can leave." Every eye in the studio is fixed on her. And so, she finishes, I left. A wave of applause crashes through the audience, loud, emotional, supportive. Some people stand. Others shout yes. Or good for you. Gal's eyes glisten, but she doesn't cry. She simply nods once, as though acknowledging something deep inside herself. Whoopi, once the applause finally dies down, speaks in a tone that's both gentle and serious. Gal, that took courage. A lot of courage. Gal offers a faint smile. It took everything. Joy leans forward. And when the headlines hit, what did they say? Gal laughs softly, bitterly. They said I was difficult. That I had a meltdown. That I was unprofessional. The hosts exchange looks, angry ones. Sunny shakes her head slowly. So he got ahead of the story. Yes, Gal says. And he made sure the version that came out first was the one that painted him as the victim and me as the problem. Typical, Whoopi mutters. Gal continues, that's why I'm here. Because I'm done letting other people speak for me. And then, with a breath that trembles with both pain and power, she adds. And because people need to know the truth about what happens behind closed doors, behind cameras, behind the glamour. A long, heavy pause. Sunny speaks softly, almost reverently. Gal, thank you. Truly. Gal gives a tiny nod. But before anyone can move on, Joy jumps in with a question that shifts the atmosphere like a sudden drop in temperature. Gal, you said earlier that it wasn't just him. That it was more than one person. What did you mean by that? Gal goes still. The audience leans forward. Sunny's eyes widen. Whoopi stiffens. And Gal, her jaw tightens ever so slightly. She isn't done. Not even close. And the next truth she's about to reveal will take the room somewhere nobody was prepared to go. For a moment, Gal remains perfectly still. The kind of stillness that doesn't come from hesitation, but from the weight of deciding just how much truth the world is finally ready to hear. Joy's question hangs in the air like a blade suspended above the table. It wasn't just him. What did you mean by that? The audience senses the shift instantly. A palpable unease ripples through the studio, the kind of hush that happens right before a secret is spoken aloud for the first time. Gal's hands rest in her lap. Her fingers curl slowly, then uncurl. When she finally raises her head, her expression has changed, sharpened, anchored, deliberate. It wasn't just the director, she says softly. There were others who enabled him. The words echo through the set. Sunny leans in, her voice steady. Enabled him how? Gal breathes in deeply, the lights catching the slight shimmer in her eyes. When you have one person abusing power, that's already toxic. But when the people around them, the producers, the executives, even some of the cast, choose to stay silent or laugh along, it becomes something darker. The audience murmurs, unsettled. Sarah frowns. Are you saying people witnessed what happened to you and didn't step in? Gal pauses, then nods. Yes. A soft gasp rushes through the room. Someone in the audience whispers something under their breath. Another person shakes their head slowly. Some even encouraged it, Gal adds, her voice brittle. Joy blinks in disbelief. Encouraged. Gal's gaze drifts to the floor for a moment, as though she's reliving something she'd rather forget. There was one producer, she says quietly. Every time the director belittled someone, especially the women, he would smirk. Sometimes he would even step closer, like he didn't want to miss the show. Sunny closes her eyes briefly, the disgust settling on her features. That's horrifying. Gal nods faintly. It was. She continues, her voice gaining strength as she sinks deeper into the truth. And when I finally confronted the director, when I told him that his behavior was unacceptable, the producer pulled me aside afterward. Sarah lifts a hand to her mouth. What did he say? Gal meets her eyes, a long, unwavering stare. He told me that I was jeopardizing the energy on set, that I was creating conflict, that if I wanted to stay in Hollywood, I should learn to play along. The audience reacts instantly. Outrage, gasps, a few angry shouts. Someone blurts out, "That's unbelievable," while another audience member mutters, "Typical." Whoopi shakes her head slowly, her expression controlled but full of fire. "That's manipulation." "Yes," Gal says softly. And I almost believed him. That's the worst part. I almost believed that I was the problem. Sunny's voice breaks slightly. You weren't. Gal offers a small, grateful nod, though her eyes still carry the weight of the memory. But it didn't end there, she says. Whoopi leans forward. What else happened? Gal hesitates, not from fear, but from the awareness of what speaking this truth will unleash. She inhales, steadying herself. There was someone on the cast, she says. Someone I respected. Someone I trusted. And when all of this was happening, he stayed quiet. A soft murmur ripples through the audience. The idea of a cast member, someone who shared scenes, trailers, rehearsals, choosing silence hits hard. He saw everything, Gal continues. Every comment. Every moment where I was undermined. And he said nothing. Joy tilts her head. Did you ever ask him why? Gal nods slowly. After I walked off set, he called me. He said he was sorry I felt uncomfortable. The room collectively exhales in disbelief at the phrasing. Sorry you felt, Whoopi repeats with frustration. Not sorry that it happened. Gal's jaw tightens. Exactly. What did you say to him? Sunny asks gently. Gal lets out a soft, humorless breath, almost a sigh. I told him that silence is a choice. And not choosing a side is choosing a side. The audience claps, not loudly but sharply in agreement. Gal continues, her voice growing steadier as she dives deeper into the truth she's kept locked inside. But then, she says, there was one moment that pushed everything over the edge. Sarah sits forward, bracing. Another moment? Gal nods. It happened 3 days before I walked away. We were rehearsing a scene. The energy was tense. Everyone felt it. The director was in one of his moods, snapping at people, pacing back and forth. At one point, he stopped in front of me, looked me up and down, and said, She loses her breath for a second, the memory cracking through her composure. Try to look less stiff. You're supposed to be the emotional anchor of this film, not a mannequin. The audience reacts with a mix of outrage and disbelief. Joy mutters under her breath, Unbelievable. But Gal isn't finished. I told him calmly that I needed direction, not insults. And that's when he raised his voice, in front of everyone, and said, She swallows, the words tasting like old poison. You think you're special because you're Wonder Woman? Here, you're nothing. The studio goes silent, utterly, painfully silent. Even the hosts look shaken. That, Gal whispers, was the moment I realized he wasn't going to stop. He wasn't going to change. And the people around him were never going to call him out. Whoopi's eyebrows knit together. So you took your power back. Gal nods slowly. I had to, because if I stayed silent, if I stayed in that environment, I would have lost something much harder to get back than a role. Sunny leans in. Your self-respect. Gal nods again. Exactly. The audience begins applauding, gentle at first, then louder, more emotional. But Gal raises a hand slightly, signaling that she isn't finished. I walked away, she says, but the fallout, that didn't stop. Whoopi tilts her head. The backlash. A small, wounded smile flickers on Gal's lips. The machine. The whispers. The stories planted online. Suddenly I was unprofessional. Suddenly I was overrated. Suddenly people who had smiled at me a week before stopped making eye contact. Sarah sighs. Hollywood politics. Gal's gaze is sharp. Not politics. Protection. She lets the words sink in before adding. Protecting him. Protecting their image. Protecting the system. The room feels colder now, not in temperature, but in truth. Sunny's voice trembles slightly. Gal, when did you realize the public had the wrong story? Immediately, she answers. When articles appeared within hours of my leaving the set. Her tone hardens. Articles I know he helped write. Joy's eyes widen. Wait, he planted the story. More than likely, Gal says softly. Or someone close to him. The audience murmurs, the anger building. Whoopi leans forward, voice low. Gal, is that why you agreed to come on this show today? To reclaim the narrative. Gal looks at her. And for the first time since she sat down, something in her expression lifts. Strength. Resolve. Truth without fear. Yes, she says. Because I realized something. What's that? Sunny asks. Gal's next words land with the clarity of a bell. You can't control what people think about you, but you can control what you stand for. The audience applauds, loud, cathartic, emotional. Several people rise to their feet. The energy surges through the room like lightning. But Whoopi isn't done. She breathes in slowly, watching Gal with a mix of respect and gravity. Gal, she says, you've told us a lot. More than most would dare to. But I need to ask you one more thing. Gal nods, bracing herself. Is there something else? Whoopi asks. Something you haven't said yet? Gal freezes, just for a fraction of a second. And that fraction is enough to tell everyone in the studio that the most explosive part of the story hasn't been spoken yet. Her lips part slightly. Her eyes glisten with a truth she's carried for far too long. And when she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. There's something the public doesn't know about what happened after I left. The studio falls into absolute stillness. Even the air feels like it's holding its breath. And as Gal prepares to reveal the final, devastating twist, the room braces for impact. The silence in the studio deepens until it feels almost physical, a weight pressing against every chest, every rib cage, every breath. Gal Gadot sits at the center of it, hands folded tightly, eyes flickering with something raw, something unfinished, something the world has never heard. Whoopi leans closer, her voice low, steady. Gal, whatever it is, you can say it. Gal swallows. Her breath shakes. When she finally speaks, her voice is soft, almost fragile. After I walked away, he didn't just smear my name in the press. The audience moves, a shift of bodies, a collective tightening. Gal continues, each word deliberate. He tried to blacklist me. Gasps erupt. Someone whispers, no way. Another person mutters, this is insane. Joy's eyebrows shoot up. Blacklisted? In Hollywood. Gal nods slowly. He made calls, sent emails, claimed I was unstable, difficult, dangerous to work with. She pauses. He told studios I was a risk, that hiring me would invite drama. The room is stunned into quiet disbelief. Sunny leans forward, her voice full of compassion and fury. That's career sabotage. Gal nods, her expression a mix of pain and strength. For weeks, I didn't know why job offers suddenly vanished, why meetings were canceled, why people I'd worked with for years suddenly became distant. Sarah presses a hand over her heart. Gal, my agent eventually told me, Gal continues. Not the whole truth, they were afraid, but enough. Enough to understand what was happening behind the scenes. She exhales a slow, trembling breath. I felt humiliated, betrayed, not just by him, but by everyone who stayed quiet. Joy shakes her head, furious. So he tried to destroy your career because you stood up to him. Yes, Gal whispers. Because I refused to be silent. Whoopi's face tightens. Her jaw flexes. And you still came here. You still told the truth. Gal lifts her gaze, and for the first time since the interview began, there's fire there. Real fire. Because someone has to. The audience bursts into applause, loud, emotional, explosive. It rolls across the studio like thunder. Some people stand. Others shout yes, and speak your truth. And we love you, Gal. Gal doesn't smile. She lets the applause wash over her, steady, quiet, resolute. When the noise finally settles, Whoopi asks the question everyone is thinking. So when the public heard the story, the wrong story, how did you deal with that? Gal folds her hands together. At first, I shut down. I didn't want to read anything. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I felt like no matter what I said, people had already decided who I was. But, she continues, her voice gaining momentum, then something unexpected happened. Sunny leans in. What? Gal's eyes soften. People I didn't know, fans, women from all over the world, started sending messages. Not asking for explanations. Not demanding details. She pauses, emotional. They were just supporting me, believing me, reminding me of who I really am. A faint smile touches her lips at last. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. The audience, us. A few people wipe tears. Even some of the hosts visibly soften. Sarah speaks through a thick voice. So the backlash turned into something else. Gal nods. Strength. Solidarity. A reminder that the truth finds its way, even when lies are louder at first. But, she adds firmly, I also realized I couldn't let the false story stay unchallenged. That's when she looks directly into the camera, into millions of invisible eyes, and says, that's why I'm speaking now. Because I refuse to let my silence become someone else's weapon. The audience applauds again, not wildly this time, but powerfully, like a standing heartbeat. Whoopi cleans her glasses, her voice roughened by emotion. Gal, thank you for trusting us with this. Truly. Gal nods softly. Thank you for giving me the space. But, Joy says, switching tone slightly, I have to ask, has he tried contacting you since everything happened? Gal freezes, just a moment, then answers. Yes. A ripple sweeps through the audience. Sunny frowns. What did he say? Gal exhales slowly. He sent a message through someone else. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an explanation. Her voice drops to a razor-thin whisper. It was a warning. The hosts all stiffen. The audience gasps again. A warning? Sarah echoes, stunned. About what? Gal's voice turns steady, cold. That if I kept talking, things would get messy. The audience erupts, outrage, shock, disbelief. Whoopi leans forward sharply, voice firm. That is intimidation. It is, Gal agrees. Joy shakes her head. Are you worried? Gal's answer is immediate. No. It lands hard, like a hammer striking steel. I'm done being afraid, she says. I'm done protecting people who don't deserve protection. And if speaking the truth makes things messy, then so be it. The studio lights flicker softly above her, as though acknowledging the moment. Sunny touches her chest. Gal, I'm proud of you. Gal's voice softens again. I'm speaking out because I know there are others who can't. Others who are still trapped. Others who are still being told they're nothing. She shakes her head. Nobody deserves that. The audience applauds again, long, passionate, rhythmic. Then Whoopi speaks with a gravity that fills the entire studio. Gal, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to say to him? To anyone watching who played a part in what happened to you? Gal turns toward the camera once more, shoulders square, eyes clear, jaw steady. If you're watching this, she says, I want you to know you didn't break me. Her voice deepens with conviction. You might have tried to silence me. You might have tried to damage my career. But you didn't take away my voice. And I'm going to use that voice, not for revenge, but for truth. The audience erupts again, louder than ever. Gal continues, unwavering. And if anyone out there is going through something similar, if someone is treating you like you're less than human, walk away. Walk away even if your voice shakes. Walk away even if they try to punish you. Because you deserve better than fear. One by one, the entire audience rises to their feet, a standing ovation. Even Whoopi stands. Joy stands. Sunny stands. Sarah stands. It's not a TV moment anymore. It's something human, something collective, something unforgettable. Gal's eyes glisten as she watches them, overwhelmed, humbled, strengthened. The applause continues for nearly half a minute. Then, slowly, Whoopi raises her hands, guiding the room back to quiet. Gal Gadot, she says softly. This will be one of the interviews people remember. Gal offers a small bow of her head. Thank you. But what happens next is something nobody expected. In the crowd, a young woman raises her voice. Loud. Emotional. We believe you. The audience echoes, shouting back. We believe you. Gal's hand flies to her chest, shocked, moved, emotional. She closes her eyes for a moment, letting their voices wash over her. When she opens them, she whispers, Thank you. And then, the show fades to its outro. Cameras pan out. Hosts gather near her, offering quiet words of support. Crew members nod at her. Some approach her with tears in their eyes. But the world outside, the world erupts. Within minutes, social media explodes like a meteor impact. Clips of Gal's emotional revelations trend worldwide. Hashtags flood every feed. Hashtag We Believe Gal. Hashtag Gal Gadot Speaks. Hashtag End Set Abuse. Hashtag Stand With Gal. Journalists scramble for statements. Studios issue rushed press releases. The director's name begins trending for all the wrong reasons. Fans across the world react, shocked, furious, inspired. Some demand investigations. Some demand accountability. Some simply express their love for Gal, unfiltered and overwhelming. It becomes the moment, the interview no one expected, the truth no one saw coming. And Gal Gadot? She walks out of the studio into the cool afternoon air, not unscarred, not untouched, but unbroken. Her steps are steady. Her shoulders are squared. Her voice, still hers, stronger than ever. And her story, the real one, is finally out. She pauses for a moment outside the building, breathing deeply, feeling the world shift around her. Then she smiles, small, genuine, powerful, and steps forward, because the truth has finally taken its place. If you're watching this on Stage View, tell me in the comments, whose side are you on? And what do you think should happen next? And make sure you like this video, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to Stage View for more explosive, raw, cinematic stories from inside the world of fame, power, and the moments that change everything.